Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of A Late Night Scream, your horror review show with a bite. So on this episode we are reviewing Guillermo del Toro's new film, Nightmare Alley.
Step right up and behold one of the unexplained mysteries of the universe. Is he man or beast? This creature has been examined by the foremost scientists and pronounced unequivocally a man. I am prepared to offer you folks one last chance to witness this supreme oddity. Where did it come from? Begotten by the same lust and threat that got us all walking on this earth, but gone wrong somehow in maternal womb. Not fit for living. Is it a beast? Or is it a man? You're in luck, because tonight you will see him feed. Come on in and find out. Is he man or beast?
There's a real running theme with me, and that is when new films come out and I go to see them at the cinema, I get my popcorn, I get my drink, I sit down, I relax, wait for the film to come on, and then I inevitably leave the film going, meh, it was okay. Well, unfortunately for me, it's another one of those kind of reviews, I'm afraid. Guillermo del Toro is one of my favourite film directors. You know, Pan's Labyrinth, The Devil's Backbone, you know, Blade 2. But with this film, it's very much a kind of reaction from me, and you know, it kind of breaks my heart, really. So this film opens with Bradley Cooper's character Stanton. He's a kind of wander drifter, kind of a con man, sort of, you know, we see that at the beginning of the film he's kind of walking away from a burnt house that he's obviously set light to, and we were like, what's going on there? Inevitably he drifts around and finds himself at a carnival where he procures a job and makes friends with all the local carnies, and shenanigans ensue. After Stanton kind of stays at the carnival long enough, he kind of makes friends with the magicians and the mentalists that work there, and he learns how to read people and how to kind of do all those mental tricks to fool people into thinking that he's clairvoyant, when in fact he's not. Or is he? He's kind of not. He's not really. And what happens next is, over the course of 2 hours, which is a kind of running length that you do feel when you watch this movie, or at least I did. It's kind of a very well-trodden plot, unfortunately for me. And what I love about Del Toro's movies is that usually I can't see what's going to happen next, and I'm just really engaged and really sucked into the world that he's built. And for me, for this film, it doesn't really feel like there's much there to go on. It's kind of very bare bones. And like I say, a very well-trodden plot. I've seen this movie before, and I've seen it a lot. But on the other hand, I think if a director, a really talented film director, can take an old plot and kind of rework it, then that's great. But again, for me, it being that kind of structure and being like over 2 hours long, it's just a bit much of an ask from an audience member. If I kind of say to you that while he kind of perfects his mentalism while staying at the kind of carnival, and then kind of strikes out on his own and leaves and goes and gets his own show and builds up and gets loads of money and becomes popular and takes that girl that he shouldn't have took, you know, oh, don't you mess around with her. Well, I'm going to mess around with her, and we're going to get married and we're going off to make our fortunes. And then he gets really big, he gets really famous and popular, and everybody loves him. And then he keeps pushing and pushing, and everybody warns him. They say, stop pushing, stop doing that thing, you're going too far, you're going to come a crop one of these days, young man. And he goes, I'm not listening to you. And you can guess what's going to happen next. And you know what's going to happen and how it's going to end. And I called the ending about halfway through the movie. And that's the only real trouble. But what I will say, it is a stereotypical Guillermo del Toro movie. It is well shot. It is incredibly well acted. There is the obligatory brunt force trauma to the face scene. There's the obligatory weird creature in a jar and loads of and that kind of thing. If you're a hardcore Guillermo del Toro fan, you're going to love this movie. If you're somebody that loves movies but isn't really a Guillermo del Toro fan and you've seen this plot structure before, the running time might bother you. It did me. And I think other than that, I wouldn't recommend going and see this film. I think if you're a hardcore Del Toro fan, you're going to love it. If you're a horror fan, not so much. And if running time and a kind of plot that you can see coming really bothers you, don't go see this movie. For me, I think it's a good, solid movie, and I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't go for a rewatch. Whereas I think generally, from what I'm thinking, all other Del Toro films I've watched at least a couple of times in the cinema. It didn't really help me, actually, because I was in my local cinema again, and we were in a small theatre screening room that was like only double the size of this room that I'm in right now. I'm not in a very big room. So there was less than like 100 seats, and there were like 4 people in the cinema, so it wasn't a big crowd. There weren't loads of enthusiastic kind of gasps or like really enthusiastic Del Toro fans there. It was very much a I think it was me and like 3 older people. Nothing. I'm not disparaging the older generations, but it just wasn't that kind of experience where I came out thinking, wow, that blew my mind. That was an amazing experience, and I can't wait to sort of see that again or talk to somebody about that. I left the cinema going, okay. For me, if you're a massive EC horror fan or a Tales from the Crypt fan, you might get something out of this movie because it feels very much like the old EC comic stories from Tales from the Crypt from the 90s. If you've kind of seen that kind of plot structure, especially the episodes that actually do have carnivals in them, it felt like Del Toro's answer to that. It's like a 2-hour episode of Tales from the Crypt done with Del Toro. Now, you're either going to love that idea or you're going to hate that idea. But for me, again, I'm kind of like, yeah, it was okay. But go watch it. See what you think. For me, it was a good film, but not one of Del Toro's best, and that's kind of a shame. But anyway, that's another review done for this week. Now, just as FYI, if anybody out there watches Jack Horrorhound's House of Horrors, the episode 8 is coming. I've had another issue with a hard drive failure, and I've had to re-import images and re-import footage and mess around with things. So it's kind of extended the edit. So I'm really sorry, and I can only apologise. It is coming in the next few days, I promise. I double pinky swear. But it's just been extended due to a hardware failure. There are going to be some behind-the-scenes footage videos coming very soon. I've got some things that I'm building in the studio at the minute, and I want you guys to see that. But until then, like, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff. Or, don't. And then we'll see you next week. But until then, keep being scared, keep being safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.